At some point, you're going to have to take a trip and get out of your lab and off your computer and take a genealogy trip. Today, we're going to talk about tips to help you do just that.
Howdy, this is Andy and Devin Lee with Family History Fanatics, where we help you understand your DNA, climb your family tree, and write the story of your ancestors along the way.
We do this through YouTube videos, coordinated e-conferences, and books. Check out the links in the descriptions for all of those details. So, our first tip for helping you begin to plan and take a genealogy research trip is to always start online.
You want to go through and find all the resources that you can online, because there's no sense in going through and using time on a trip that you have a limited amount of time when the information might already be online. So make sure you're going through Family Search and Ancestry, the Internet Archive, and lots of other databases to see what information is already available online.
Now you want to choose your facility. Now your facility doesn't necessarily have to be an archive. It could be a relative's house, but you want to choose your facility and know the hours that you're going to visit. You want to know any rules that are going to hinder or help your research process. So choose your facility wisely.
And since you're going on a trip, it's actually probably going to be multiple facilities. So plan out and see, hey, is there some place that's open in the evening, whereas other places are open during the day? You might want to schedule those for that time. You might try to see how far away different facilities are and plan on going to the ones that are close together first.
You also want to take into account weather and how that may hinder or help your research trip. I know when I took a trip in May, I was able to go and visit all of the cemeteries during the day, especially since many of my family members work during the day. So during the day, I was in the cemetery, and at night, I was with my relatives. When you show up at an archive, especially an archive or a relative's house, you want to know what resources did you want to explore. So at an archive, you want to have a hit list. What resources are you going to explore, and what are some of the names that you're going to look for? And when you go to a relative's house, you want to know in advance what things did you want to look at and what stories you want them to ask you to tell them before you get there.
Now, most archives or other places like courthouses may not have their records online, but they almost always have a listing of what records they have online. So make sure you're going there and going through that index of different records so you can figure out which record sets you want to be able to look at and see if there's maybe some others that you haven't thought of yet as well.
So as I hinted before, you want to have a research list. Now, I also recommend that if you're going to a cemetery, don't just look for your relative, but go ahead and get a hit list of volunteer photos that you can also snap. Additionally, don't just look for one question that you're going to solve on this research trip. Have a list of questions that you might explore, because what if your answer is found in the first hour and you have 3 hours in an archive? You don't want to be scrambling to find another question to try to answer. It's better to have too many questions that you want to have answered than too few.
One thing you probably realize by now is it's a lot of effort to actually prepare so that you can have a successful trip. You want to make sure that you're prepared to find more stuff than you actually have time for, so that way, like Devin said, if you find something really fast, you've got another question you can go and look at.
Be sure to leave time to browse. Archives have a lot of information, and sometimes you can't always find it online in the catalog or from talking to different individuals. I know on a recent trip that I took to the Ohio, downtown Columbus, Ohio library, as I was browsing through the books, I came across a guardianship index. I didn't have that on my hit list, but it jumped off the shelf at me. I mean, not literally, but my eyes were drawn to it, and I discovered that my great uncle was actually adopted, something I never thought was possible. But because I took time to browse looking for an answer to a different question, I was able to find a new mystery.
And for a lot of record sets that aren't indexed, browsing is what you're going to have to do. And that's why knowing what names you're looking for is important, and having a nice list of those names. So as you're browsing and slowly going through page by page, these names will hopefully jump off the page at you, and you can read more about that to find out, hey, is that part of the family I'm looking at, or is that just some other John Smith?
Then when you are prepared because you have planned for your research trip, it's time to pack your bags. Now, we have a video about what to take in your bags in your Genealogy to Go bag, and Andy and I have different strategies, but be sure to go check that video out. A link for it will be in the description.
So you can use those tips in your next genealogy research trip. Remember, it's going to take a lot of preparation, but we guarantee that if you do the preparation beforehand, you're going to have a successful trip. You might not find everything, but you're going to find a lot of the things that you've been looking for.